Welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at Sea of Plunder. This is a 2 to 4 player hand management grid movement pirate game, where you take the role of merchant sea captains. You'll be collecting goods and treasures and avoiding pirates trying to become the best sea captain. How do you become the best captain and win the game? By having the most points at the end of the final round. Now that we know what the winning condition is, let's take a look at the components, setup, and how gameplay works in Sea of Plunder. Now let's take a look at the components. Some of the components are upgrades. You have the main game board. There are two sides to the main game board. You have a regular setup side and a random setup side. At the top of the main game board, you have the in-game scoring. On the right side, you have the pirate pool. On the left side, you have spaces for a discard and draw pile. In the middle of the main game board is your ocean, and then on the bottom right is your compass. Action cards, event cards, port city cards, movement cards, goods cards, player power cards, player aid cards, boats, dice, upgraded compass tokens, upgraded debt tokens, upgraded treasure tokens, treasure island tokens, port city island tokens, combo port city tokens, and finally, your rulebook. Now let's take a look at the setup. We're going to be setting this up for a 3-player game, which takes 8 steps. Step 1, place the main board in the center of the play area. Step 2, create supply pools. Create supply pools for treasure, debt, treasure island, magical compass, good cards by color next to the main board. Step 3, get in place player components. Choose a color and get the ship of that color and place it on the matching island space on the main board. Then get a random power card, magical compass, one good card of the matching island, and a player aid. Step 4, place pirate ships. Place pirate ships on D4, J4, D10, and J10. Step 5, place a treasure island token in the center of the main board. Step 6, create your starting hand. Shuffle the blue wave cards and deal 5 to each player. Remove and replace any port cards or event cards. Then add your one good card to your hand. Step 7, create your draw deck. Place a random map card face up on the corresponding discard space, and then shuffle the replaced cards back into the deck and place it on the corresponding space on the main board. Step 8, choose a first player. Now let's take a look at the gameplay. A game consists of player turns until the final round is triggered. The final round is triggered when a player collects 3 or more treasures, or the pirates have collected 6 or more treasures. A player's turn consists of 3 phases: draw, play, and discard. Now let's look at each phase in detail. Phase 1, the draw phase. You would draw 2 cards. You may draw 2 from the draw deck, or 1 from the draw deck and 1 from the discard pile. Keep in mind when drawing that event cards are set aside to be resolved after this phase, and you would draw another card. After we've drawn cards and resolved events, if there are any, we would move to phase 2, play. Choose one card to play, and then place it on top of the discard pile face up. For the action cards, or blue headers, they can be played and discarded, and the discarded actions are listed at the bottom. Port island card, you would move your ship to that island and collect that good. For the map cards, you must follow the direction of the compass on the main board. You can spend a magical compass to rotate your map card. Keep in mind that you cannot collect a good where pirate is located, and the sea is endless and wraps around in both directions. For treasure islands, passing through, you would get the treasure. If you stop on it, you get a treasure and draw a card. Once the treasure is received, you would roll the dice to place the next treasure. If you roll a skull, it gives a treasure to the pirates. If you pass over another player, you would draw a card. If you land on another player, you would draw a card from their hand. If you come in contact with a pirate, you would return a good to the supply or take a debt token if you have none. When placing goods or treasures for pirates, they would go to the top right of the main board. If a treasure is placed on a pirate, you would give it to the pirate and re-roll again. If it's placed on a player, they would draw a card instead. And if a treasure is placed on an island, you would place it on its previous spot. After you've played a card and taken that action, we would move to phase 3. Discard. You would choose a card from your hand to discard and place it on top of the discard pile. When doing this, you would move a pirate according to the card. Then player turns would continue until a player collects 3 treasures, or the pirates have 6 or more treasures. Then we would finish that round and go to the final scoring. The final scoring takes 4 steps. Step 1, score treasures. Each treasure is worth 3 points. Step 2, score compasses. Each compass is worth 1 point. Step 3, score debt. You would score a negative point per debt token. And step 4, score goods. Goods are scored in sets, 1, 2, 3, or 4 of a kind for 0, 3, 5, or 8 points. Once players have calculated their score, the player with the most points is the best captain and wins Sea of Plunder.